Welcome to the Real Estate Investment Nomad Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how Canadians are migrating to Mexico and what's the benefit of that. We're here with Wes Rosso from Canada that decided that Puerto Vallarta was much better weather and also a better lifestyle. Welcome to the show, Wes. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Before we start, I would love to, for you to share your journey as you share with me. Rosso was in one of our real estate tours. He's a developer in Puerto Vallarta. But tell me more about your history. I mean, where you come from and why you moved to Mexico.
Yeah, I am from Kelowna, British Columbia, which is a beautiful city in Canada. And for the last 20 years or so, I've been a real estate investor there. I've worked with a lot of investors. 10 years ago, I became a mortgage broker. I still am a licensed mortgage broker, helping people finance properties in Canada. And I've been coming down to Mexico for several years, often spending large portions of the winter down here. And now I've found myself a developer down here and yeah, spending the entire winter down here, which is kind of nice.
Nice. And based on your experience, because you're an investor in Canada and now you're an investor in Mexico and a developer. From your perspective, how are the numbers, doing? Like what makes sense and what are the difference between both markets? Because many people in Canada maybe are thinking about Mexico, but they don't know the how, the path, and maybe you can give them some guidance on what it's like to, from one country to the other.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, and I discuss this with a lot of people in Canada, I feel like the real estate investing opportunities have progressively just gotten harder to find and overall not nearly as good, especially over the last 10 years. Property across Canada has gotten very expensive. And for investors wanting to buy investment property, it's very difficult to find anything that can cash flow and provide a good return. And when I came down to Mexico, I particularly in Puerto Vallarta, I just noticed there was so much development going on around here. I was naturally curious to find out more about the market and what was going on here, what type of opportunities might be here. And I connected with a fella down here who is a Canadian himself and a realtor with Century 21. And he provided me with a lot of market data. And I analyzed the market trends in Puerto Vallarta for the last 10 years, specifically looking at what the values have been appreciating at over time and where the opportunities were. And it became very evident to me that the investment opportunities for investors are just simply better down here. There's more of them. There's thicker profits to be had. It's not hard to find property that can provide you with cash flow down here, where back home that's very difficult to do. And in certain jurisdictions like British Columbia, where I live, a lot of people had gotten into doing Airbnb as an investment, which had been a fairly lucrative segment of the investment market. But overnight, the government there made a ban on it because there's a housing crisis, and other jurisdictions elsewhere have also done similar type of things. So the opportunities for investors in Canada just are not that great. And in Mexico, they're plentiful, and there's very little to do any restriction can do for Airbnb investing, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think Canada, like the US, the restrictions are what either cuts into the profits or prevents you from making money out of real estate in the, short-term rentals. For taxes, I mean, in your opinion, how are taxes different Canada versus Mexico? Because sometimes people think that they have a good deal somewhere, but sometimes taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and all those, income tax can cut into your income itself. So maybe you have a larger profit, but also a larger expense. Have you experienced that from one place to the other as a comparison?
Sure. Well, I'm not an expert when it comes to all aspects of taxation, but what I do know is that property taxes, in particular, are far lower in Mexico than they are back home. I think the average property tax rate down here is 0.1 of 1%, which is almost nothing. And compared to back home, where they can easily be 10 times that amount. So that's something that people are often pleasantly surprised with. As far as income, taxation on rental income, um, Mexico does have a tax treaty with Canada. In Canada, you would be required to report any income that you earn in a foreign jurisdiction like Mexico. So if you're reporting it, you will get a credit for any income tax that is paid in Mexico. So there's no double taxation.
Mm.
Yeah, overall, it's I would say more beneficial in Mexico.
Yeah, when we're comparing at least to the US, when it comes to property taxes, literally it's like 1/10, like you were saying in Canada. For property taxes, easily in Chicago at least, people, the average is like $10,000 per property. In Riviera Maya, which I would call it the New York of Mexico because it's like one of the most expensive areas after the West Coast. We're looking at maybe $400-500 a year. So it's $500 a year or $10,000 a year for about a similar property, same size and same quality. So definitely, I think for taxes, will be saving. From your perspective as a developer, because we don't talk with developers every day, but let's say you have experience with real estate in Canada, but how is your experience in Mexico different from that? I know there is pros, cons, and then sometimes, things that might be so different that you have to get used to it, have some patience, time is not the same as a perception. So share your experience of the good and the bad.
Yeah, well, I don't know all the ins and outs of developing in Mexico. I'm still fairly new at it. And I was lucky enough to partner with a building company down here that is very experienced. So, luckily for me, they kind of handle a lot of the administrative things because things do work differently down in Mexico. Sometimes the government isn't so efficient. There can be delays. And a reality down here that I've learned is that sometimes you got to grease someone's palm to get things done, which is not the way things are done in Canada. And luckily for myself, my builder partner is Mexican, and they know how everything works down here. So they kind of take care of a lot of that administrative stuff on my end. Yeah, it's a bit of a different culture and system down here.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to learn that also the hard way when I moved to Mexico. And I just didn't understand how things, play. And then there is a permit, but it's not quite the permit. But it's a permit in the line item for development. And then I understood, that there's permits of permits. But that's interesting. For the concept of your project itself, how do you visit other areas of Mexico before you were like Puerto Vallarta is the place, or you decided because you like it, it's a nice, a good transition, let's say, because you wanted to be by the beach. What was your decision-making point selecting the city, and then what is the concept of your development?
Purely as Puerto Vallarta is my favorite place. In fact, truth be told, I actually prefer the beaches over on the Mayan Riviera better. But when I was analyzing the market here, the market trends were really solid. It's a good sized city. It's got a very consistent, steady growth rate of the population. A lot of people from Canada and US are continually and steadily coming down here. The the values of properties, especially in the condo market, which I've focused on here, showed a lot of opportunity there. And it was more affordable to buy property here compared to places like Cabo and Cancun. So I always like to present value to investors. And I feel like the value here in Puerto Vallarta is good. There's a lot of upside. I think there's still a lot of room for appreciation and value in the marketplace. And also the return on your investment, if you're interested in getting rental income through Airbnb or long-term rentals, I think you can still make a very good rate of return here compared to some of the other areas. And I also analyzed the numbers of tourists coming to Puerto Vallarta, and I was shocked to find out that tourism here has more than tripled just since 2018. Which, as a real estate investor, you want to be in places where people are going to, and Puerto Vallarta has a ton of growth and a lot of upside, in my opinion. So that's the reason why I set up shop here. It also happens to be a really cool area, and I enjoy a lot of the things around here. Of course, the weather, it's got some of the most consistently good weather here. It's sunny and about 27 degrees almost every day. It's super safe. One of the things I always say to people is you can tell it's a safe place to be just because you see how many retirees come down here, and old people would not be going to a place that's unsafe, right? So it's very safe here. The healthcare is good, affordability is good, the tacos are great, and the ocean is nice. One thing I like to mention is that the ocean is very safe compared to somewhere like Cabo, which a lot of the beaches there are very dangerous to go in. And I know that firsthand from being there and seeing it. I'm a very good swimmer, but some of those areas I would not even venture trying to go in the ocean there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think because Cabo is in the other side and you guys are a little protected from the currents and maybe surfers like in the other side. And Puerto
Yeah,
Vallarta has a little more shelter.
yeah. Puerto Vallarta is in the Bay of Banderas, which is a large bay, and it's got a large mountain range that shelters it from the wide open ocean and also shelters it from hurricanes that come up and down the coast. Cabo San Lucas, on the other hand, is on the tip of the Baja Peninsula, bordering on the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez. And the water there is a lot more turbulent, and they're not protected from the elements at all. They're wide open
Mm-hmm.
there.
Nice. And when it comes to the project that you selected, that you're like, I'm setting up shop here, tell us a little bit more of what it is. Maybe some people might be interested on investing in Puerto Vallarta. They don't know where to start, or they don't know the location, because Puerto Vallarta now keeps growing. There's Nuevo Vallarta now. But where do you select, the location, why, and then what's the project you're working on right now?
Yeah, so when I met my builder partner, he presented a project that they were interested in doing. It's centrally located in Puerto Vallarta, very close to the Malecon Boardwalk area, which is very famous. It's very popular with tourists. So it's close to all the main touristy areas, which is great. It's also super close to the ocean. We're literally a 30-second walk to the ocean. There's one building in front of us on the beach, and we're right behind it. So we've got that proximity to the beach, which is great for personal use. It's also very important for rental income. If you want to rent on Airbnb, having that proximity to the beach is super important. And it's also very affordable. Again, I always like to present things that are good value for people. And my condos are half the price of the building that's in front of us because they're on the beach. We're 50 feet behind them, and we're half price. So yeah, I think we've got a lot of good things going there. In addition to that, there's a major new pier being built one block away from us. So I keep telling people that once that's done, which they expect later this year, that I have no doubt that's going to add value to all the properties in my neighborhood. You know, from 10 to 20%, I would expect, maybe even more. It's hard to say, but yeah, so there's a lot of good things going for my development. And of course, we've got the rooftop pool and bar area. And my building is taller than the building in front of us. So we'll have an unobstructed view of the ocean from up there, which is nice. So it's almost like you are right on the ocean.
That's amazing. How many floors or how many units you're planning for?
Yeah, it's a 6-story building, which we're currently building right now. We expect to be done in about 1 year. And it's 15 units. And currently I just got word today that we closed on our 10th. And so we've only got 5 left at this moment.
That's really good. No, I think, I mean, where people want to live, and then they don't understand how to move there or the process, the prices. But being 37 seconds from the beach, it's pretty amazing for at least for Canadians that love being by the water after these winters that we're having right now.
Yeah, yeah. They always say in real estate, it's location, 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 right? And we've got that great location. It's a great combination of location and value, in my opinion, with a lot of upside potential here as well. So it's fantastic. People don't need a vehicle to live there because it's really walking distance to pretty much everywhere they'd want to be. Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that because Puerto Vallarta is a fun city. There is always something to do. It's very similar to Playa del Carmen in a way that you don't need a car, and that thing is the most important thing. Maintaining a car in Mexico, if you're by the beach and you don't live there full time, it can be a little detrimental on the car if you don't move it. Like it happened to me this winter. Winter here, summer there. But do you get any pushback from Canadians, or I mean, I don't know if you have American clients on moving to Mexico, because many people have this fear, like Mexico is dangerous. But as you mentioned, if many
Yeah.
retirees are there, probably it's okay. What are some top pushback reasons people give you that you're like, no, I mean, it's fine where I am?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been a real estate investor for a long time, and I've noticed that people in general have a lot of fear and get worried about all sorts of things. They can invent all sorts of reasons not to move forward with something, even if they recognize that something is a good opportunity. And to be honest, in Mexico, it's easy to invent a reason why not to do it. For one thing, it's far away. It's another country. There is some areas in Mexico that are dangerous. Not all are. In fact, one of the things I like to tell people is that the crime rate in Puerto Vallarta is lower than every major Canadian city, which is very interesting. Most people are kind of happily surprised to hear that. But yeah, there's all sorts of things people can come up with. Another one I would say is it comes up often is the ownership, because as a foreigner, anyone can buy property here, but it has to be held in a trust called a Fideicomiso, right? You could also do it through a Mexican corporation, but 95% of foreigners will just buy it through the bank trust. And for a lot of people in Canada and USA, we're used to having that sole ownership, being on title of the property without it being held in a trust or anything else like that. And that gives people a warm, fuzzy feeling that that they're secure, that it's there. They have all those rights of ownership, owning it through a trust in Mexico, but for a lot of people, it can be a sticking point for them. In my opinion, in my experience, I've never heard of anyone actually having a problem with ownership through a fideicomiso, but it's a possibility, I suppose. I like to tell people in Canada that even if you have full ownership rights to your property, the government can step in at any time and say, we need your property to put in a highway or whatever. and and they'll just take the property from you and give you market value, even if you think it's worth more for development reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
So like theoretically, governments in either country could step in and take your property. In practicality, it never really happens. But that's a big one for a lot of people, is the ownership.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that happening. It happens on the coast, of course. And for those who don't know about Fideicomisos, we have a video in our channel that explains the step by step on what it is. And also, it's not like Asia, right? They have land lease, and Fideicomiso is a totally different tool that the government, allows international buyers to buy in the coast, but it's only in the coast. If you're inland in Mexico, you don't need one.
Yeah, and the vast majority of buyers in Mexico will buy in the coastal areas because that's where most people want to be. And I remind people that thousands of Canadians and Americans buy in these areas every year without issue. Having it held in a trust can be very beneficial for other reasons as well. You can have sub-beneficiaries who the property passes on to you in the future without creating a taxable event. So there's a number of reasons why that could be to your advantage as well.
Mm-hmm. And what's your sentiment about Mexico's growth? I mean, the economy is doing pretty good. How do you foresee Mexico? And do you have any eye on that your next investment, where it's going to be, so people can maybe follow you and learn more? Maybe they want to invest themselves, maybe do a building, partner up with you in a way, or maybe buy the one that you're selling.
Yeah, I'm always interested in working with investors, collaborating on things. The reason I went out to the Buying Riviera and ended up meeting you on the real estate tour was because I was curious to look for opportunities out there. And I think there's some interesting opportunities on the horizon there I might go after. For instance, like purchasing or building villas in Tulum and then hosting them on Airbnb can be a lucrative avenue. The development that I'm currently doing in Puerto Vallarta, me and my partners feel that the area that we are currently doing this project in stands to see a lot of growth over the next 10 years. And we're almost certainly going to be moving forward with a second building in that same neighborhood as soon as we're done this one. So I think that would be a great opportunity for people to get in, because when you get in early, you get a much better price than when you buy a finished product at the end. People in my development who bought in just 7 months ago, a lot of those people have already seen our prices increase twice just because we're further along now and whatnot. So they've already seen some gains on it. And I'd love to get people in earlier on projects so they can see some of those big upsides.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for sharing your experience as a developer. We usually talk in this podcast with, real estate agents, experts, but having the perspective of somebody who was like, I'm leaving, I want to test Mexico for development. You're putting your money, where your mouth is, and you're seeing the returns. So it's very, very hopeful. And then you keep having Mexico as your future plans. What would be a way people can find you online? Maybe social media, or how can they get a hold of you in case they want to either invest with you or learn more from your experience?
Sure. Well, the easiest way to get in touch with me is just Google my name, Wes Rosso. I'm a licensed mortgage broker in Canada. And if you Google my name, my listing for that will come up. It has my direct phone number in there. And I have a Canada or North America wide plan. So people can call me while I'm in Mexico here. And they can also see all my 5-star Google reviews that I have there as well. I also have a website called investmex.ca. People can take a look at that and contact me through there as well. But yeah, just Googling my name and you'll find my contact info there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all the info. I'll have all your information in the description below so people can click and get a hold of you. I'm sure more and more Canadians in this case that they from a Canadian perspective, and also Americans would like to learn more and also invest in in the beach towns, because it's not like you're back home and you have to pay the high expensive taxes. Mexico is a whole different ballgame on how the lifestyle, I think, and in general, I feel like the environment, the community, it's just so much more friendly in a way and warmer than back home sometimes for us too. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a flood of Canadians and Americans continuing to come down here, even more so than we've seen. I think this trend is just going to increase and increase. There's more people than ever who can work remotely. There's a ton of people who are about to retire or already retired, and the cost of living we've seen in North America has gotten more expensive. So it can be a lot more affordable down here overall. So I think this trend is just going to continue, and the sooner people make that decision to start making that transition down here, the better off it'll be for them.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So hopefully then we'll have more neighbors either in the Riviera Maya or in Puerto Vallarta, and we can wait to see where you take it next. Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Investment Nomad podcast. I hope today's episode has inspired you to explore new horizons in global real estate. Remember, the world is full of opportunities waiting to be discovered. And with the right insights, you can turn those opportunities into successful investments. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Don't forget to follow us in social media for more resources and updates. Until next time, my friends, this is nathalysalas, encouraging you to think big, invest globally, and transform your real estate journey. Safe travels and happy investing.